This guy has zero magic, but has a spirit sword that can use the power of any spirit, like the spirit of fire, water, darkness, nature for healing, and more. But before I spoil the fun, let's start the story. Before parting ways as a master and apprentice, the master gifted his student, Elias Martin, with the magic sword he never used in battle but always carried. The ugly master advised him to pick only one comrade he could truly trust. With a sparkling smile, the master proudly told the kid he could now join a party. He waved goodbye, informing the kid he arranged it through the royal family. Though Elias has zero mana, he still manages it somehow. Elias almost pooped in his diaper. He couldn't believe he would be tossed straight into the demon lord-slaying hero party. Back then, Elias didn't understand that despite having zero magic, he had a strange compatibility with this magic sword and how much power it truly held. A few months after joining the hero party, they came to Hell Pass to investigate sightings of demons. However, after slaying some of the monsters, their numbers were still so many. A wyvern alone isn't tough, but this place is a monster den even S-rank parties struggle with. Noticing Thomas and Isabella were exhausted, he told the hero Mateo they were outmatched. Mateo shouted at him, stating that he already knew they were outmatched and did not need a reminder. He curses before telling everyone to retreat. After that, Mateo asks Elias if he knows his position in this party. Elias wondered if there was anything else besides a companion. Mateo bluntly told him he was a dead weight at the party and wasn't effective today. 2 reasons why Elias was a burden. The first one is that he lies. He always says to walk toward the light on their path that they can't even see. Elias clarified he could see the strange light, and when they followed it, they were always safe. Mateo didn't care and told him the second reason. Elias couldn't use the magic sword. Wind swords are either triggered naturally or created artificially under certain conditions. However, all magic swords require compatibility. Elias has the compatibility, but he hasn't drawn out its power. Elias believed he wasn't a burden and always supported the team. Even if he couldn't use the sword, he still fought for everyone. Mateo shushes him by stating that it doesn't have to be him. Elias went into the inn and slammed his tired body on his bed. He doesn't know what to do next. Ever since he lost his parents, it's always been just him and his master. He thought, thanks to his master's introduction, he finally had comrades he could trust, but after what happened, he regretted ever getting involved. He recalled his master's advice that one trusted comrade was enough. He really enjoys adventuring with the hero party, but now that he has been kicked out, he will just become an adventurer. The other day, he went to the Adventurer Guild and was greeted by the receptionist, Aaron. The ugly moron was shocked she knew him, so Aaron reminded him that he was a member of a hero party. Elias revealed he was already kicked out, but the receptionist was still energetic, like a baby who ate a box of chocolate and understood that he was switching to adventuring. Her straightforward attitude makes Elias feel relief. Now that he was officially registered as an F-rank adventurer, he received a perfect quest for a beginner, to investigate a recently discovered lake deep in the forest. As he walks and recognizes the beauty of the place, he recalls that when he was at the hero's party, everything he did was for Mateo and the others. But now, he will do things for himself and enjoy the scenery. He spotted a group of goblins and remembered the receptionist's warning to be careful when low-level monsters pop up. As he hid to avoid fighting, he saw the strange light that always led him to a safe path. He followed it and arrived at the recently discovered lake. As he contemplated where to start investigating, he became alarmed after hearing some footsteps. A monster was chasing an elf girl. His eyes widened upon realizing it was a Hargle water croc, a monster even stronger than a wyvern. He didn't know what this thing was doing in this place, but it didn't matter right now. He needed to save the girl. He rushes in front of the elf to help her and then jumps to avoid the Hargle water croc attack. The monster wasn't that fast, so he managed to land a clean hit. However, its skin was tough. The monster was about to grab his ugly face, so he closed his eyes, accepting his fate. Luckily, multiple wind/magic hit the monster, creating a space for him to back away. When he landed, he looked to the side and thanked the elf for saving him. He planned on taking the front while she was supporting him, but before they could proceed with their plan, the hideous monster looked at them before it submerged under the water. The elf plans to lure the monster out by using her magic. She launched the rain of wind magic blades towards the lake, and when the monster was on the surface, Elias quickly jumped to attack, but the monster was fast to retaliate. He dodged it, but the monster's attack destroyed the tree. Seeing this made him realize that he would be dead if that attack hit him. He then moves near the monster to get its attention on attacking him, and while he is dodging, waiting for the right moment, the elf continues showering it with her magic. After receiving several hits from the elf, the monster lost its focus on its target, so Elias used this opportunity to attack. He managed to land a clean hit, but his sword was stuck. The monster swung its head, which made him lose balance and fall. The Hargle water croc releases an attack, but he dodges a little bit in time. However, his right arm was injured. He didn't know if he could fight with just one arm, but this girl would also get hurt if he didn't do anything. He suddenly heard a tiny voice asking for help. He looked at the elf and asked if she had said something, but seeing her confused reaction, he stood up and became certain that the voice wasn't just his imagination. He picked up his sword and stated he would help the fragile voice and ask what to do. When the voice told him to use her power, his sword suddenly engulfed with water. The ugly moron was shocked at the power of the sword, but when the voice told him he could use its power to defeat the Hargle water croc, he became serious. The moment the monster emerged from the water, he swiftly sliced it like a cucumber. Seeing how he chopped the monster as if it were just a mere cucumber she always uses before going to sleep, the elf was amazed. On the other hand, your dumbfounded MC was pondering if it was really he who defeated it. The spirit was now finally free and showed its true form to them. She thanks him for saving her and asks for their name. After Elias introduces himself, the elf, Emma Larknell, also introduces herself. The spirit was glad to meet them and cheerfully told them just to call her Undine. She encircled the ugly MC, who was wondering why a legendary spirit from myths was here. The spirit suggested making a contract with her, but noticing the moron thinking too much, she wondered if he didn't like it. Elias didn't mean it like that, so the spirit claimed his answer as a yes and asked for his hand to form the contract. After it was done, Undine informed him he could call her whenever he needed her power. With that, she vanished. He turned to Emma and asked if she was okay. Emma only mumbled that she had finally found him and quickly grabbed his hand, begging him to come with her to the Elven Kingdom, which confused the MC. The truth is that someone asked her to find a human who can see spirits. She spread her smelly dark underarm and asked if he could tell the color of the micro-spirits around her. It was light blue, but he didn't know that those strange lights were spirits. Emma was shocked to learn he could see them but didn't know what they were. People who can see spirits are extremely rare in this world, and among humans there are so few that they can be counted on one hand. Elias now knew the reason why others couldn't see them, but he still didn't think he could be of any help. He has zero magic power, and even his sword only works as a regular sword. The power she witnessed earlier was from Undine. Emma knew people who could see spirits usually received some kind of blessing, so she understood him. But being able to form a contract with a high-ranking spirit was incredible, so she asked if he could come with her. Since Elias doesn't really have to do anything at the moment, he agrees but needs to have a quick errand in town. He visited the church and adventurer guild, and after some shopping, he returned to Emma. Emma smiled at him, suggesting he drop the honorifics and just call her by her name. After all, they would be adventuring together. Their first plan was to look for an inn, but before they could go, they were interrupted by the hero party. It was Mateo's first time seeing an elf and complimenting Emma's beauty. After Emma and Mateo introduce themselves to each other, Mateo looks at Elias and inquires if Emma is traveling with Elias. When Emma confirmed it, the son of a poop invited her to join their party. They have been looking for talented companions, and explained that, unlike the weakling Elias, adventuring with them would be much more meaningful. Emma buried the ego of this monkey to the deepest part of the earth by politely bowing her head and stating that she only wanted to travel with Elias. Mateo released his bad breath, reminding her that adventuring with a useless guy wasn't a good choice. Emma thanked him for the advice, but she believed Elias was stronger than they thought. Mateo clenched his teeth full of tartar and declared she would regret it later. Elias thanked her, but Emma clarified there was nothing to thank for and asked for the reason why he looked hurt earlier. Elias tells her his story. He met Mateo through his master and the royal family. After that, the Sword St. Thomas and the sage Isabella also joined their party. He was so excited to be able to adventure with this party, but since he couldn't use magic, he felt he was the only one who didn't belong to the party. Everyone else grew stronger with every battle, but he, who couldn't use his magic sword, fell further behind. As the dungeon level increased, he became a burden, and they lost more often because of that. After that, he was expelled from the party. He admitted he was a burden to them, but was shocked after seeing Emma shaking like a cat. She moved closer to him and made it clear he was strong. Elias clarified that he had just managed to defeat the water crocodile because of Undine's help, but Emma insisted he was strong to begin with. Otherwise, he would have already been killed long ago by some monster or the water crocodile. He can read the situation even with a strong enemy and can quickly analyze his comrade's position in mind while luring the enemy away. Elias believed it was just normal, so Emma clarified that despite being in danger, he still cared about his allies, which was something only truly strong people could do. He may not realize it because he was made to feel inferior to the so-called hero party. She told him to be confident because he was strong. Those words touched his heart, and after thanking her, he decided to believe in his own strength. After a while, they encounter a group of gangsters, your daddy orcs. Elias easily dealt with them and asked how much farther to the Elven Kingdom. Emma told him it was just a little more, and noticed how he became stronger than before. It was all thanks to Undine, but the spirit clarified that it wasn't just her power, because there was no way anyone could control it that well from the start. When Emma inquired if he was talking to Undine, Elias was surprised she couldn't see her. Undine explained that when the spirit was in the contract, usually, only the contractor could see the spirit, unless the person has spirit-like power. He asks if there's a way for Emma to see her temporarily, so Undine pops out to show her form. While the two were playing in the background, Elias wondered why he could see spirits and micro-spirits, even though he had no magic power. Undine concluded it might be one of the traits of the magic sword. The sword itself draws out the power of spirits, which is why the wielder can see spirits too. For some reason, the sword matches his wavelength perfectly, and there are no others compatible with it than him. After a while, they arrived at their destination. They climb the stairs, and when they reach the ruin, Emma informs him that they will use teleportation magic to enter the Elven Kingdom. They step into the center of the pillar, and after a few seconds, they arrive at the beautiful place of the Elven Kingdom. I think this kingdom was made in China. Look at those stairs. Anyway, Emma told him her house was up there, and as they walked, the townspeople cheerfully greeted their Lady Emma. Finally, they arrived at her house, and when they entered, your ugly moron MC almost pooped in his diaper upon realizing how big it was. This wasn't a house anymore, but a palace. He tried to ask her something, but Emma's mother arrived. Marl Larknell welcomed her back, and when she saw Elias, Emma introduced him to her. Emma's father was glad she finally found him. He walks downstairs, and after welcoming Elias, he introduces himself as Michael Larknell, the king of this country. This revelation shocked the moron to his core, realizing Emma was a princess. He looked at Emma and asked if she was a princess. Emma swiftly moves towards him and asks him, embarrassingly, to drop the honorifics. He agreed, explaining it would be weird if he suddenly changed how he acted. The queen inquired about their relationship, but before his daughter got cooked, Michael advised his wife to stop teasing Emma because it made Elias uncomfortable. He leans closer and asks in a whisper tone about his true relationship with Emma. Were these couples really the king and queen of this country? They look clown to me. Anyway, Emma pulls him closer and informs her parents that Elias's sword is only 3 inches long. I mean, he was using a magic sword and was compatible with it. A woman suddenly appears, noticing that Emma has already arrived. The three respectfully bow to the lady, which surprised Elias. This lady was Titania, one of the most divine beings in the elf nation. He politely greeted the lady and could feel something gently resonating deep in his chest. Titania recognized him as the chosen one and sensed that he already formed a contract with Lady Undine. She could tell it because he and Titania were the same kind. Their wavelengths have been resonating ever since they met, a phenomenon that only occurs when people close to spirits encounter one another. Undine asks him if Titania is there, and when he just calls her name, the king tries to find where Undine is. Elias asks him to show herself to everyone, and she obeys. It's been a long time since Undine and Titania saw each other, so they warmly welcomed each other. Titania met Undine long ago when she adventures with someone who had a contract with Lady Undine, and that person already passed away 100 years ago. Noticing his stare, Titania knew he was wondering about her age, but it was a secret. Seeing Emma was happy after fulfilling her mission, Elias became sad, realizing he misread things. He was an idiot for hoping Emma would stay with him out of friendship or something. Emma saw his gloomy face and clarified that while Lady Emma tasked her with a mission to find him, she also had her own reason. She blushingly told him she wanted a friend. Since she was royalty, she never really had someone she could call a true friend. That's why going on adventures with him made her so happy. Their adventure was so important to her, and she didn't know if he would believe her. Elias believed her, and when she thanked him, he made it clear that there was no need to thank him for that. Now that they had cleared up the misunderstanding, Titania wanted to get to the real reason why she had called him. She summoned him there because there was something only he could do. She wants him to save the world. Right now, the high-ranking spirits of this world have been sealed by demons. It was the same with Undine, who was also sealed when they first met. However, since they drove away the key to her seal from the sealing point, which is the crocodile water, she managed to lend her power to him temporarily, but she couldn't break free on her own. The natural enemies of demons are spirits and angels. It is already known that in a few years, the demons will begin to move in earnest. When that happens, their first targets will be the sealed high-ranking spirits. They have to rescue the spirits before that happens, and only someone chosen by the spirits, someone loved by them, can save them. There are also demons that can only be defeated by a spirit user. Saving the spirits will, indirectly, save the world. That was what she believed, but she didn't expect Elias to answer right away. She informed him that there was another spirit sealed not far from their place. Even though they had already done everything they could, they weren't able to save it. Elias couldn't imagine how he would save the world, but he still asked where he could find the spirit she had mentioned and planned on saving them. The two went to the spirit, which was sealed inside a cave, but there were also monsters there, so Emma reminded him to be careful. But seeing him walk like a robot whose battery was about to run out, she asked what was wrong. Elias just became nervous after thinking about what was ahead because he couldn't comprehend how someone like him would save the world. Emma suggested not to think about saving the world for now and just only focus on saving the spirit. For now, he was here for his friend and not for the world. Thinking that the whole world depends on every little thing he does would be way too much pressure, she advises him to forget about saving the world for now. They just need to act for Undine's sake right now. Elias realized she was right. He needed to do what needed to be done. He should have to keep it simple. He is just here for the things he cares about, which his friends, and told Emma they should go.
They encounter the favorite monster of all otaku, which are the goblins, who look like babies but never receive a youthful appearance because the moment they are born, their faces are already ugly, as if they were already 75 years old. Poor thing. Anyway, Emma easily threw them into the trash with her magic and was praised by Elias. The place was strange because even though they were inside a cave, the plants and trees were glowing. After heading deep inside the cave, they stop in front of a massive door. They went inside and saw many micro-spirits. He noticed a huge rock, and as he wondered if it was a statue, Emma pointed in the direction of the shrine. At the same time, the statue's eyes opened, and the door shut. The statue, I mean the golem, tried to smash them, but they managed to jump out of the way. He tightened his grip on the sword and asked for support from Emma and Undine. He rushed forward but was met with the golem's punch. He jumped to avoid it and sliced its arm. However, it regenerates quickly. Emma sliced it into pieces using her wind magic, but it's still regenerating. The golem locks its eyes on them and uses vines to attack. Elias could endure it, but Emma, who has low defense, won't last. Undine told him to trust her power, and when he did, he felt a power greater than anything he had ever experienced before. He swiftly slashes all the vines, and when Emma uses her magic to hit the target, Elias rushes forward and cuts the golem's head. As he huffed for air, certain that it wouldn't regenerate after cutting its head, he suddenly felt exhausted and couldn't move his body. Emma worriedly ran for him, but before she could aid him, the golem punched the ugliness out of him. His body slid to the ground, making Emma more worried. She came near him, but became more concerned when Elias coughed up blood. At this rate, he will die. His body has reached its limit, and it's now screaming in pain. Even though his body won't hold up, he still asks for Undine to lend her power. He grabbed his sword and stood up because if he didn't fight, Emma would die. He won't be able to protect Undine or the other spirits either if he gives up. With that deep determination, he launches another attack and notices something in the golem golem's body. He dodged when it attacked, and when he landed, he instructed Emma to aim her wind cutter at the golem's chest. She struck the golem's chest, and now that its core was more visible, Elias pushed past his limits and used the azure set to pierce the golem's core, following up with the snowflower slash. When the core shattered into pieces, the golem's body fell to the ground. Emma was finally relieved now that the golem was defeated, but her eyes widened when Elias dropped his ass to the ground. He was bleeding so much, and the pain was making him lose consciousness. The spirit from the shrine asks if he is the one who saved her, and when she is finally free, the shrine releases a blinding light. This fairy with leaf hair was so cute. She moves closer and introduces herself as Dryas. As a thanks, she will heal him, but first, she needs to form a contract with him. She touched his hand, and when the contract was completed, she spread her arm to heal him completely. She boasted she was good at healing and support magic, and if he ever needed her help, he could call her. As the two spirits happily hugged each other, Elias inquired why the high-ranking spirits were sealed in the first place. Instead of answering, Undine asks if he knew the Demon King's revival. Elias and the hero party knew it, because their goal was to defeat the newly born Demon King. Undine revealed that the seal from 200 years ago had been broken, and the Demon King wasn't reborn but had been resurrected. This revelation shocked the two, so Undine explained that there had really been a Demon King 200 years ago, and the hero back then had died fighting him. Afterward, the hero's companion, who is a spirit mage, somehow succeeds in sealing the Demon King. As a consequence, they died in the process, and the high-ranking spirits were sealed as well. Two demons arrived, and one of them stated that the high-ranking spirits were more troublesome than the hero, so they must be eliminated as soon as possible for the sake of the resurrected Demon King. He introduced himself as Laris, and after seeing the defeated golem, he wondered how to report it to that person. Elias was about to grab his sword and warn Emma to stay back, but before he could touch his sword, Laris suddenly appeared before him and launched an attack. He managed to block it with Undine's power but was still thrown away and crashed into the wall. Before he could stand up, Laris was about to strike again, yet he barely blocked it. Laris wasn't impressed because, despite possessing the spirit's power, this was all he could do. Elias admitted this guy was on another level because he just attacked him using only one hand. Laris notices the familiar sword and pushes him back. He didn't know how the kid got the sword, but regardless, anyone who could wield a spirit's power was far too troublesome to leave alive, so he would finish him. Elias closed his eyes, waiting for the impact, but a man suddenly intervened, blocking Laris's attack. It was Elias's master, who stated that Laris was having fun and asked if he could join them. The master looked at the side and wondered what his student was doing there. While Laris sighed, annoyed that the situation had become more troublesome, Elias's master was thrilled he finally found Laris. Master told his student to leave it to him and then jumped to meet Laris in midair. They clash, leaving a trace of their attack in midair. The force was so intense that it even made the two barely stand in their position. The two clash again, leaving traces of their force midair, making the two weaklings dumbfounded, witnessing their amazing power. Laris launches multiple attacks, but the master dodges them all. Master plans on ending the battle by launching multiple fire rock rain, but Laris thinks it is pointless if it doesn't hit. He dodged all the attacks but didn't expect it to be a decoy. Master appears behind him and strikes, but he manages to turn to block it using his dual sword. He only received an injury from his hand, and now that he was annoyed, he planned to kill Elias. The other demon suggested retreating because if the table turn, no one will report to that person. Laris agreed with her, but before leaving, he summoned the skeleton soldiers. When Laris is already inside the portal, the demon girl turns to Elias, asking for help. Before he could comprehend what she said, the master alerted him to get ready because the wasted milk of all the otaku had already grown up, and it now surrounded them. The master smirks, stating he will leave the half to his student, and asks to show how much he has grown. As his master started slushing the ugliness out of the skeleton soldiers, Elias realized that if the master hadn't saved him, he would have been dead for sure. Now that he has a second chance in life, he needs to get stronger to protect his friend. The three Powerpuff Girls charge at him, but he easily deals with them with the help of Undine's power. Earlier, when he blacked the golem's attack, he just let loose with his power, and it drained him all at once. But when he finished the golem off, it wasn't like that. He wondered if he could do that again, but there was no end to these minions. He suddenly froze, and was about to get hit by one of the soldiers, but Emma assisted him using her wind slash. She told him not to panic and to believe in himself because he was strong. Yeah, she was right. He needed to believe in his friend and in his own strength. He visualizes it and decides to fight not only with Undine's power, but also his. He created massive water with his azure second form, and then launched it like a meteor toward the enemies. Emma was amazed to see a barrage of cannonballs wiping out all the extra morons. Undine commended him for getting the hang of her power, and he thanked her for that. Stepping at the pile of skeletons, Master commended him, and informed them that the fight was done. After Dryas healed them, Elias contemplated how the demon had managed to reach this far, and was troubled by the demon girl's behavior earlier. He looks at his master and asks why he knew about the demons. The master slapped him on the back and told him not to sweat the details. They were alive, after all. Before leaving the cave, he was happy his student was getting along with his companion, and introduced himself to Emma. He is Leonardo Leonardo Arctic. Knowing his student was part of the hero, he asks where the other members are but gets annoyed after learning he was kicked out. A lot has happened since then, and he is now traveling with Emma. While Leonardo remains silent, the kid asks his master about the original owner of this magic sword. It's been bothering him why Leonardo has it when he's not suited for it. If he knew who the owner of the sword was, it might help him learn more about the spirits. He asks if his master can tell him about it, but Leonardo turns his back, telling him it isn't the right time, and it all depends on him. Moreover, Elias needs to get back to the Elf Kingdom and ask if he can talk to Emma because he has something important to tell. While Elias went back to the Elf Kingdom, the two remained in the forest to talk about something important. Leonardo asks her what she thinks of Elias. Well, she haven't known him for very long yet, but he is the only one who saw her not as the princess of the Elf Kingdom, but as a fellow comrade. She wants to keep adventuring with him. She felt the sudden changes in Leonardo's aura, but still continued to say that, even though she hadn't known Elias for so long, she was sure he was an irreplaceable comrade to her. Leonardo steps closer and bangs his head to the ground, apologizing. He only wanted to test if she honestly thought of Elias as a comrade and didn't mean to scare her, because for him, Elias is like a precious child. Emma knew it, making Leonardo feel embarrassed, and he requested not to tell about it to Elias. Emma just smiled in response, thinking that Elias and Leonardo's gestures were the same, just like a parent and child. Leonardo sat and revealed about Elias's past. Elias's parents died when he was 4, and since then, Leonardo has raised him like his own son. He believes that Elias's strong desire to help others stemmed from his own experience of losing someone important. It is also the reason he started sword training. Elias is the kind of person who fears nothing more than losing someone important, so he asks Emma that if his student becomes reckless, she must stop him. Emma agreed she would never let Elias act recklessly. Leonardo thanked her and was glad she became Elias's comrade. Meanwhile, the main topic of the day was sitting on the stairs when the two arrived. Elias quickly comes closer to Emma and whispers, asking if his master does anything to her because wanting to talk alone with her sounds suspicious. Emma just chuckled at their bickering and reassured Elias that there was nothing to worry about. In fact, they got along better. While Lady Titania was glad they returned safely, the king was happy to see Leonardo. Seeing how close the two were, Elias inquired if his master knew the king, to which he replied in the affirmative. When Titania thanked Elias for breaking Dryas' seal, the kid told her about the 2 demons they encountered. Titania couldn't believe the demons were already on the move, but was still glad they were safe. She then asked if he recalled what she had told him the previous day about saving the world. They were running out of time, and she wanted to hear his answer. To be honest, Elias was scared, and as he was now, he couldn't possibly win. When he fought Laris, he realized how big the power gap was. But since the spirits were the demon's target, and Dryas and Undine were asking for help, he is determined to become stronger to protect his comrade and save the world. They were all touched by his words and received a thanks from Titania. She then asks Emma. Elias thinks this will be his farewell to Emma, but to his surprise, Emma leans closer and declares she will go with Elias because he is precious to her. The two shake hands, glad to accompany each other on this adventure. Now that it was decided, Titania told them about the salamander residing in the dragonfolk country where the dragonkin lives. She asked if they wanted to go there, and they agreed. Before parting ways, the king asks him to take care of his daughter. On the other hand, Leonardo told him not to make Emma cry. The two will use teleportation magic, just as they did when coming to the Elf Kingdom, but aren't sure exactly where in the dragonfolk country they will land. Elias wondered if Undine and the other spirit knew about Lord Salamander. Undine answered in the affirmative, and revealed that Lord Salamander was a lonely spirit. Elias was curious about where these two spirits were staying when he didn't call them, so the two spirits revealed they stayed in the spirit world. High-ranking spirits like them used to live together in the spirit world. There used to be more of them, but now it was only Undine and Dryas, and they felt lonely. As he thought that he needed to find the salamander quickly to alleviate the loneliness of these two spirits, Emma pointed in the direction of the teleportation circle. Elias followed her and stated it was time to go to the dragonfolk country. Meanwhile, in the Imperium, the royal capital, people were murmuring about the swordsman who had left the hero party, defeated the crocodile water, and was even invited to the Elf Kingdom. On the other hand, the current hero party kept losing and came crawling back. Even the king was getting fed up, so they wondered if they were really okay with the hero like this. Hearing these made Matteo get frustrated and walk to an alley. He goes to the forest to train, annoyed that he is being compared to some loser. He notices someone's presence and asks who it is. The hooded man revealed himself and offered some help. Meanwhile, the two were teleported and looked at the Dragonfolk Kingdom from afar. Since they have no idea where the salamander is, they will go first to the Dragonfolk Kingdom to gather some info. Emma showed him the map and pointed out their exact location. To get to the kingdom, they will need to get over that mountain. They started walking, pushing towards the summit for 2 days. The monsters they have encountered are tough, but they are slowly getting used to them. So far, no big issue. Or so he thought. They stop in a place that they have already been. It was weird because they had been moving forward, but it felt like they kept getting brought back to the same place. He had a hunch about what was going on, so he asked Emma a favor, to punch him. Emma hesitated at first, but since he just needed to check something, Emma gave her best to erase the ugliness of this MC. The moron sulked, not expecting that force from her but somehow glad he now knew they had gotten lost in an illusion. There are 2 kinds of illusions, one cast on a person and one cast on a place. When it is cast on a person, it's like being in a dream, so even if one's punched, it doesn't hurt. Since he was hurt after receiving a punch from her, it means this place itself is under an illusion. Illusion cast on a place always has an exit somewhere. They need to find a distortion in space and exit through it. They continued walking, fighting some monsters, but still didn't find the distortion. Now that they were tired, they took a break and sat on a rock. He looked to the side and saw a red light wisp. He grabbed Emma's hand and followed the light towards the distortion. Finally, they did it. However, a dragon was waiting on the other side, turning the MC back to being ugly. He couldn't believe they would run into a mythical monster now. Since they managed to break from the illusion, the dragon concludes they are with that demon from earlier. Elias tried to deny it, but the dragon didn't listen. Instead, it attacked them. The dragon didn't even want them to take a rest and flap its wings, creating a sharp wind. The two managed to avoid the hit, and when Elias landed on a rock, he tried to talk, but the dragon didn't want to listen. The dragon breathes fire, but the kid dodges. Since the dragon didn't want to listen, they had no choice but to fight. He noticed the dragonfolk kids unconscious on the ground and concluded that this dragon was protecting them. He saw a rock with a crack right above the kid, and knowing it would collapse any time, he didn't dodge the dragon attacks anymore and ran straight to save the kid. While the dragon noticed he wasn't dodging anymore, Elias focused on the rock that was now falling directly to the kids. He couldn't make it to save the kids, and a normal slash wouldn't be fast enough to hit the rock. He imagined a quicker, more powerful strike and managed to create the Azure third style, Water's Origin slash, and then launch it. It passed through the dragon's side until it successfully hit the target, pushing the rock from a distance. Seeing the dragonfolk kids alive, Elias finally heaved a sigh of relief. While Emma worriedly ran towards the kids, the dragon recognized that the power Elias used was from high spirits. He called the attention of Elias and asked if he wasn't an ally of that demon. After a while, Elias used the green first style to heal others. After healing everyone, he thanks Dryas, who confidently responds that it is nothing. The dragon couldn't believe Elias had formed a contract with two spirits and then bowed his head to apologize for jumping to a conclusion earlier. These two dragonfolk kids were Acto and Lurik. They apologize for coming here because they just really want to see the dragon that's said to be their dragonfolk ancestor. They sneaked out of the kingdom and came up to the mountains, but they fell off a cliff and passed out. The dragon saw this youngster, and since the area was filled with monsters, he hid them in this place until they woke up. The dragon introduced himself as Zhao, and explained that demons had attacked him, and he was recovering from his wounds in this place. He created an illusion in the area to conceal himself from enemies. Learning that Elias was with high-ranking spirits, he concluded that he had come to meet the salamander. The salamander hadn't been captured yet, but he didn't know his exact location. Given the salamander's whimsical nature and love for solitude, Zhao was certain that the salamander was not too far. He suddenly felt something and covered the kids with his wings. A familiar attack was launched towards them, and when it stopped, Laris announced he felt lucky today to come across a spirit user while chasing their prey. This is their chance to eliminate these nuisances all at once. Seeing how Elias shouts Laris's name, Zhao inquires if he knows that demon. Elias answers in the affirmative and reveals he fought this demon once. Just like Elias, Laris also came to this place to find the salamander spirit, but Zhao won't tell him its location. The dragon responded that he had already told him he didn't know, but Laris didn't believe him. Laris knew Zhao had once teamed up with the salamander and wielded tremendous power as the legendary dragon. If he really didn't want to talk, Laris would just kill him before he got to the salamander. He threw an attack towards the dragon, but Elias used his spirit sword to counter it. He won't let Laris kill Zhao or salamander, and won't let him have his way. While Emma takes Octo and Lurik to a safe place, Elias and Zhao will fight the demons. As Elias avoided all of the attacks, he was certain he had grown stronger than before and could land a hit, but Laris just blocked his attack and stated that one hand was still enough. The dragon sneaks an attack from behind, but Laris manages to dodge. However, he is now open, so Elias strikes using the Mizumoto slash, but the demon still manages to dodge and swiftly retaliate. Elias's technique has speed and power, but if it doesn't hit, it's pointless. Elias figured out that with Laris's speed, a single or even double slash wouldn't land. He needs to visualize a strike that leaves no escape, a skilled technique of continuous slashes. With that, he managed to create the Azure fourth form, the water core, and then launch it at his opponent. Still, Laris managed to avoid all of it, but was impressed that he could use the water like that. He noticed the dragon flame from the shadow and managed to counter it, but didn't expect an assault from Emma, who used a wind slash. The three attacked simultaneously, making the demon become serious and release the font's dark wave to nullify their attack. Elias could feel the heat and realized that the flame and magic had all been erased. Laris can kill them one by one, but three is troublesome. He called the demon girl, Michelle, to kill the elf. He needs her to be useful, at the very least. Michelle faced the elf, making Elias worried, but Laris swiftly appeared behind him and was about to attack. Luckily, the dragon intervenes using its fire. The demon became irritated and realized that the kids were hiding. He knew people like them, the heroes of justice, wouldn't ignore things like this. He fired toward the kid, but the dragon sacrificed its body to block the powerful attack. He lost consciousness and dropped to the ground. Dryas is about to heal the dragon, but Laris wants to kill her. He managed to land a perfect hit, making Emma worry as he crashed to the ground. Michelle cornered her and reminded her that she was her opponent. Seeing Dryas still alive, Laris announces they were all fools to risk their life shielding others. Since he was getting bored, he would end this battle with his next attack. Elias wants to stand up, but his consciousness is fading. He suddenly heard a voice asking if Elias wanted to use his power. Elias wondered who it was, but knowing there was no time to think, he answered in the affirmative. His sword suddenly engulfed with fire, shocking the demon. Laris fired his attack, and Elias countered it with his Crimson First Style form, the Flame Wind Slash. A whirling fire was launched, and when the two attacks collided, it created a loud boom. Laris's attack was neutralized. The salamander showed up, commending him. The situation had become more and more troublesome for Laris, and since Elias was really in his way, he declared he would finish him off. But before he could do that, the Dracoloot guards arrived and surrounded him. Now that the small fry was crawling in, the demon had no choice but to retreat. Before entering the portal, he told Elias they would meet again soon, and promised to show something far more interesting. When they disappear, Elias quickly goes to Zhao, who is now getting healed by Dryas. He turned to Emma and asked if she was okay. Emma was fine, but something was bothering her. The demon girl named Michelle seemed a bit strange because even though she was ordered to kill Emma, she held back to avoid interfering. In that situation, she could have wiped them all, but she didn't. Recalling their first encounter, in which Michelle had asked for help, Elias wondered if there was a conflict among the demons. Before Laris left earlier, he told Elias they would meet soon, so if that happened, they would try to talk to Michelle. He then looks above when the salamander asks about Zhao's situation. And when he calls him Lord Salamander, the spirit tells him to scratch the Lord and the formal speech. After all, he is the one who saved Zhao. Salamander isn't sealed because he is one among the spirits who managed to escape during the battle with the Demon King. Salamander was being hunted by the Demon Remnant, but with Zhao's help and the Dragonfolk Kingdom's support, he managed to stay hidden until now. Elias asks for his strength in rescuing the other high-ranking spirits, but Salamander doesn't like working in groups. However, since he was impressed with the technique he had demonstrated earlier, despite doing it on the first try, the Salamander became interested in him. He also wants to save his comrade, so he forms a contract with Elias. Knowing Salamander rarely opens up to anyone, Undine praised him for being recognized by the Salamander. The guard apologizes for interrupting their conversation and thanks Elias for saving their prince, Lurik, and his companion, Acto. They invited him to the Dragonfolk Kingdom, but when it dawned on him Lurik was a prince, he froze like a pooping bird. The scene shifts to the Dragonfolk Kingdom, where King Johann thanked him for saving the two Dragonfolk kids. He then sat and elaborated on how the two kids often sneak out of the castle due to their curiosity. He was really glad Elias's team was there to save the kids and then asked if there was anything they liked as a reward. The two didn't have anything in mind, which made the king happy, and shake Elias's hand like a doll. As the ugly moron was dizzy lying on the ground, Johann mumbled how it would be a bad example if he didn't reward them properly. In that case, Salamander asks the king to grant him permission to train in the Dragon's Ravine. After the king allows it, Elias seems confused, so the spirit tells him to rest first and will explain about it once they are there. The next day, they arrived at the Dragonfolk Kingdom northwest, Dragon's Ravine, where Zhao was waiting. The dragon thanks him for protecting everyone, but the kid tells him he should be the one thanking him. Elias asks about the training, and the Salamander responds that after watching him fight yesterday, he realizes something. There aren't many who can handle the power of high-ranking spirits like he can, and he could say that Elias has a natural gift. However, if things continue like this, he will die eventually. Laris didn't even fight seriously yesterday, and the only reason Elias managed to block Laris's technique with salamander power was because the demon was caught off guard. Next time, it won't be the same. To be honest, with Elias's current strength, he won't be able to stand against Laris if he gets serious because he is that powerful. Still, Salamander believed that Elias could go beyond that realm, and then ask Zhao for help to train the kid to strengthen his power. He will train Elias hard, and ask if he can handle it. Knowing he can't properly protect anyone with his current strength, Elias agrees, stating he wants to become stronger. With that, the training began. He had a mock battle with the dragon, deeply concentrating on the spirit's power, push-ups with a huge rock on his back while the salamander was on top of it, and climbing the mountain. Meanwhile, the three were just watching from the side, amazed at his hard work. Emma realizes she can't stay like this. She also wanted to be strong so she could be helpful to everyone. The two spirits look at each other before telling Emma that there is something they want her to try. 10 days after the training, at the Dragonfolk Kingdom Royal Palace, a knight was rushing towards the king's throne and reported something urgent. The king froze after hearing the news and quickly ordered them to summon Elias. When the two arrived, King Johann apologized for interrupting their training, but Elias assured him they had already made progress. Besides, it was an urgent matter. The king told him about the report. There are signs of a grand march of demons in the Imperium. Monster hordes have already started invading nearby regions, and it is only a matter of time before they flood to the capital. Recalling Laris's words, which is he will show something interesting, Elias wondered if this was what he meant. There is one more report that troubled the king because, apparently, this invasion was triggered by the hero joining forces with the demons. This shocked Elias to the core. He didn't believe Matteo would do such a thing, and asked if it wasn't some kind of mistake. Either way, he will be heading to the Imperium right now. The two went outside and were met by the dragon, who heard everything. On their way, Elias still didn't believe Matteo would join forces with the demons. Meanwhile, at the royal capital, Imperium, people are running for their lives while monsters are wreaking havoc. With a trembling hand, Matteo stood frozen, looking at the scene. When they arrived at the Imperium, Elias was shocked to see many monsters in the royal capital. At the already wrecked Adventurers Guild, Erin was begging the monster not to come closer, because if they took another step, she wouldn't hold back. I think this girl wasn't in her right mind anymore. She had the courage to threaten this monster despite being a normal person. Anyway, as you already know, the monster wouldn't listen to her and swung its club, but suddenly fell to the ground, lifeless. Elias inquired if she was okay and asked what happened to the capital. Erin responded that it was all because of Matteo. According to the information they got at the guild, Matteo joined forces with the demons and caused the stampede. Elias was still not sure if the rumor was true, so he asked where he could find Matteo. After learning he is probably in the center right on the front lines, Elias orders the dragon to get Erin and the townspeople in the safest place. Emma was confused as to why he still believed in Matteo despite being treated terribly and exiled from the party. Well, it was because Matteo was his comrade and they went on adventures together. He doesn't want to judge him just based on rumors. He will see him face to face to know the truth. With that, he runs to find the hero and annihilate all the ugly beings in his path. They arrive at the front line, where adventurers and royal guards are fighting the monsters. There, he saw Matteo and called his name. Matteo asked why he was there, but Elias told him it didn't matter and wanted him to explain himself. Laris Laris interrupted their conversation and stated that it was fascinating how the royal capital Imperium had devolved into chaos in an instant. This is the interesting promise he made on their last encounter, and he thanks Mateo for being part of it. However, this wasn't the result Mateo had envisioned. From the moment he was born, he was the hero. He was better than others with both sword and magic, and because of that, everyone called him a chosen one. People cheered for him, yet he always felt a sense of loneliness because what everyone saw wasn't him, but the hero he was supposed to be. When he first meets Elias, as part of the hero who will defeat the Demon King, Elias's attitude towards him makes him feel that it is the first time someone has seen him not as a hero, but as an equal comrade. Then Thomas and Isabella also joined their party, and he was glad about that. The days he spent with the party were truly joyful, but he hit a wall. It was his first time facing the true strength of the demons. There were a few times they came back battered and broken. He knew that a weak hero had no value, but he didn't want to admit that it was the extent of his abilities. Instead, he blamed his comrade, which was Elias. He envied him because, despite no magic, he would still bravely fight to protect the team. That is the reason why he exiled him. After that, he began hearing rumors that Elias was achieving great things, which made him feel that his weaknesses were becoming increasingly exposed. Even though he had once been so celebrated, people's eyes grew cold until there was no one left. That's why, in exchange for power, he tells the demon about the royal capital's weakness, and this is the result. Laris laughed at how easily the hero could be manipulated. Soon, this kingdom will fall, and it's all thanks to one foolish hero. His laughter changes to a serious face when Elias swings his sword, cutting some strands of his hair. He told the demon to shut up and not to laugh at his comrade. He understands how Mateo's title drove him into a corner, forcing him to shoulder everything alone. But he needed to lift his head and look around because he wasn't alone. He still had Isabella, Thomas, and also him. All he needs to do is lean on his comrades. Mateo's eyes became watery. This is the person he envied and, at the same time, admired, because he was kind. And despite being exiled, Elias still treated him as an equal. Already bored with the corny drama, Laris ordered his minions to kill them all at once. While Elias prepares for battle, Mateo reveals he can't admit defeat because of Elias. He didn't want to rely on him, but now that they were in this situation, and he couldn't do anything on his own, he asked Elias for help. Elias's eyes widened upon seeing that an ogre was about to end the hero's life. But of course he wouldn't let that happen, so he swiftly moved to slash it and answered that he would help Mateo. He looks at him with a smile. After all, they were comrades. Mateo was momentarily stunned at his kindness, and then smiled, thanking him. Together, the two took out their sword to take down the demon. They jump to attack, but before they can come near the demon, Michelle blocks his sword, pushes him, and then kicks Mateo. Still, they manage to land safely. Laris commended her for doing a great job and stated she is finally starting to understand her place. He hopes she hasn't forgotten about that matter. He will leave this matter to her and will just watch from the sidelines. Elias told him to stop, but the monster attacked him. He avoided it and retaliated using a flame wind slash. However, the monster has fire resistance stronger than any monster they've faced so far, and there are a lot of them. At this rate, they will never reach Laris. A voice told them to move aside, and when they did, the three monsters were defeated by magic that came from Isabella and Emma. Thomas strikes one of the monsters and tells them that if they fight together, they will be able to manage. He plans on clearing a path to reach Laris, but Michelle won't let him be. She then kicks his butt. Elias offered to heal him, but Thomas told him there was no need, because the attack missed his vital point. Mateo could see how strong the demon girl was, and if they didn't attack her together, they would get wiped out. Elias asks him to leave the demon girl to him. Mateo tries to argue, but seeing how he begs with a smile, he realizes he has some plan, so he agrees and tells him they will handle the monster. When Elias faces the demon girl alone, Michelle thinks he is arrogant, so she rushes to kill him, but when Elias drops his sword, she doesn't kill him. Elias discovered that she really didn't want to fight because, based on his earlier observation, she hadn't hit Thomas's vital point. Aside from that, when they were at the shrine and at the Dragonfolk Kingdom, she didn't try to kill them. She is making sure they will survive. He asked the reason why she was following Laris. Michelle jumped back, saying there was no point in explaining, and then asked why he came because she never wanted to drag him into this. Elias was confused but turned his head after hearing a shout. Emma was surrounded, and when one of the monsters was about to attack, he finished them off using an aqua edge slash. As he checked if she was okay, another monster approached, but the demon girl protected them, slicing the monster into pieces, ready to be grilled. Yummy. Seeing the two confused reactions Michelle told them when she looked at the two of them, she was reminded of her brother and sister. The Oni are an outlier among demons, a race that despises conflict. She lives peacefully surrounded by her older brother, her younger sister, and all their kin. But one day, that peaceful life was suddenly shattered by the invasion of the demon army. Laris and the demon named Vald led a massive army and launched a full-scale assault. Faced with their overwhelming power, the brave warriors of the Oni tribe were struck down one after another. Even her brother, known as the strongest warrior of the tribe, fought valiantly but still faced a grim fate. Before he died, he told her to stay alive and survive. I'm not sure if this hand was from the Demon King, but he instructed Laris to utilize Michelle effectively, as Oni's abilities are useful as pawns. From that day, Michelle became the servant of the Demon Lord, and she can't say no because her sister's life depends on it. Her little sister and the surviving Oni tribe members are still being held hostage by the demons. As long as she continues to serve the demons, they promise to spare their lives. She has no choice but to obey. But when she looks at them, she sees her brother and sister in them, even though she knows she has to kill them. Elias understands her and smiles. Just as he thought, Michelle was a kind child. Hearing those words made her remember her brother, who told her that she was a kind soul. Elias knew how hard it was to suppress her own feelings for the sake of her family and her kin, but she didn't have to suffer alone anymore because he would help her free her family. If they work together, Emma is sure they can save her sister. Michelle could see her little sister in Emma, but didn't respond. Instead, she clenched her fist and then stood up, telling them to move. She poses like a Sailor Moon and unleashes her black petals, making all the monsters fall asleep. It is one of the dark spells passed down in the Oni tribe that will make the target stay asleep for a while. She looked at the two and said she trusted them. Laris didn't like her foolish behavior because he thought she was a little smarter than this. Now that Michelle wouldn't follow his order anymore, Laris needed to punish her by using the ones she held most dear. With that said, he used the resurrection of the dead. As the skeletons rose, Michelle was shocked to see they had horns. This skeleton has no memories or soul, and Laris didn't want Michelle to meet them like this, but had no choice but to resurrect them, including her beloved big brother. Michelle screamed and kissed the floor, crying. Since she put the monsters to sleep, Laris will use her dead kin. The skeleton launches at them, but they manage to defend. As they were on it, Elias told Mateo that these soldiers were Michelle's subordinates and asked him to just defend and not kill them because he would do something about it. Emma suddenly crashed to the ground, and when he turned, he noticed Michelle's brother, ready to finish her. He swiftly jumped in to block the attack but was easily swung to the side. As expected of the strongest warrior of the Oni tribe, Michelle's older brother was still strong despite being a skeleton. Big Bro was about to strike again, but Elias tried to stop him but was easily pushed back by the grip of the sword. Laris laughed and told Michelle to look at her beloved brother, who died protecting her. As Big Bro was about to swing down his sword, Michelle lifted her face. After recalling the image of her brother, she called him. Big Bro suddenly stops, making them all shocked.
Trembling, Big Bro urges her to run and escape.
With teary eyes, she recalled the day Big Bro protected her and Himina, her little sister. She extended her hand, but before she could touch his face, Big Bro was suddenly electrocuted. Laris was surprised his soul fragment still remained, but with this spell, he was sure Big Bro would be a puppet. When the ritual is done, Big Bro's eyes turn dark, and he quickly attacks. Fortunately, Elias was fast to save her. Michelle asks Elias for a favor because she wants to free everyone. She concluded that their soul was trapped and was being manipulated using magic. If they destroy the source, they will be freed, but will disappear. She didn't want to see her brother suffer anymore. Besides, the only ones who could save her brother from this hell were them, and to accomplish that, they needed to break the black crystal. Laris challenges them to do that if they can. He recalled that on their last encounter, Elias's power was only half of his. Elias responded that he has his family now fighting with him. Before it was impossible to defeat him, but after his training, he think this time was different. When he summoned Undine, Laris smirked, thinking it was the same as usual, but when he summoned Salamander, he almost pooped in his diaper. Instead of using the power of a single spirit, Elias will combine them. With that, he created a fusion technique with water and fire. Laris was taken aback by this power, and before he could make a move, Michelle trapped him using the binding magic from her tribe. She won't let him do whatever he wants anymore. Laris shouted at her, calling her arrogant, and then flicked his finger to sneak attack. Michelle was caught off guard, but before it hit her, Big Bro stepped in, shielding his sister. Seeing this frustrated Laris more, and as Elias prepared for a massive attack, Laris managed to get free from the chain. However, the crystal fell from his hand. At the same time, Elias unleashes the sword destruction technique, the Annihilates. A huge amount of energy was released, which can be seen even from afar. A smile was obvious on their faces after the crystal broke and the dead were being purified. Michelle looked at her brother, who told her that she had become strong. As her brother, he was proud of her. Michelle thanked him for always protecting her and said with teary eyes that she wasn't alone anymore because she had made friends. She promises to save Himina and the captured tribe and tells him not to worry. Big Bro was glad to see her smiling and reminded her that he always wished for her happiness. After the dead vanish, the frustrated monkey shows up again, calling Elias's attention. Since Elias always gets in his way, he will personally deliver divine punishment to him and ensure that he shows no mercy. Elias told him it was his line and declared he would finish this right here, right now.
Elias relentlessly showered the demon with his second form flame slashes, but Laris swiftly dodged all of them and retaliated with dark flame rain. While Elias was sidestepping, Thomas and Mateo jumped in to attack, followed up by Michelle from behind, who managed to slice his wings. Elias sent an exploding slash, but Laris nullified it using a dark wave. He admitted Elias had become stronger than before, but he still couldn't defeat him. As Dryas healed the others, Laris charged in and reappeared from behind, but Elias managed to block. He barely keeps up with the demon's speed and manages to deal some damage. However, Laris was so strong. The demon was about to swing another blow, but Emma launched wind slashes. Still, Laris easily dealt with it and mocked the girl for not managing to scratch him. He rains them with dark lightning that manages to hit Mateo and Thomas. While Dryas used a wide area healing, Elias wondered what to do. Seeing they are already worn out, Laris dashes towards Isabella and uses a mental attack. Thomas tried to check her, but Laris kicked him. As he flew mid-air, he told Mateo to dodge, but it was already too late. As soon as he bumps into the hero, the demon strikes them with dark lightning. Elias left the healing to Dryas, but Laris wouldn't let them anymore, so he swiftly attacked from behind. Elias barely blocked all his attacks, and observed that the demon's speed increased even more. While Michelle leaps to support him, Emma is unsure what to do, as using her magic might harm them. Besides, her magic was easily erased by Laris. While Elias kept getting stronger, all she did was hide behind him. Even now, she is completely useless. Still, she decided to think carefully about how to help in this situation because she didn't spend all that time in the Dragonfolk Kingdom doing nothing. Michelle hugged Laris to create an opening for Elias but was slashed by his blade. Still, she managed to catch one of his swords using the binding chains. Seeing the opening, Elias tried to launch an attack, but Laris was so fast and managed to appear behind him in a blink. The demon struck his back, and as he fell, all Michel could do was shout for his name. He received a fatal wound, but despite that, he still tried to reach for his sword to heal himself. Laris stepped on his hand and was about to swing his sword, but a blinding light stopped him from doing so. This technique depends on the trust between Emma and Elias. If their bond's weak, it won't work. All she needed to do was to put her heart into it and call Dryas and Undine. With that, she managed to call Dryas and use the blessed arrow towards Elias to heal him. Laris couldn't believe what he was witnessing, but still rushed in to cut Elias down again. A dagger flew beside him and managed to hit his blade. The dagger came from Mateo, who was taunting the demon by saying that the bird brain let his guard down. At the same time, Elias released a huge explosion. Third form, the detonation slash, toward Laris, but the demon tried to block it. Son Goku and Vegeta's Kamehameha clash mid-air, creating a huge wind that makes the ant fly to the other universe. While Son Goku was giving his all not to lose his ground, Vegeta felt that he was losing. On the other hand, Son Goku asked for more power and was determined to win no matter what for everyone's sake. Suddenly, his sword was surrounded by dark power, and it wasn't from Undine or Salamander. The voice told him he could use his power too, and when he did, Laris could feel that Elias's power had multiplied several times. He shouted not to underestimate him, but Elias told him it was over. He unleashed the magic sword fusion first form, the super fusion, and managed to hit Laris, defeating him. Laris couldn't believe a mere human had defeated him, and recalled that this feeling was the same as it had been on that day. It was humiliating, but he believed that, just like back then, his lord would resurrect or help him. Well, I really didn't know the exact continuation of his last words because Elias turned him into dust by launching a final blow. Now, it was finally over. While Emma and Michelle hugged him, Mateo congratulated him for defeating the demon. The two smile and shake hands. With the defeat of Laris, the stampede that attacked the capital came to an end. Then, under Mateo's leadership, the restoration of the capital took place. Several days passed as the wound of the battle healed. Meanwhile, the three were sitting on a log, talking about how Elias met Emma and the spirits. The two blush like a tomato when Michelle asks if they are dating. They stutteringly responded that they weren't. Michelle never imagined she would talk to them like this, and thanked Elias for defeating Laris. Well, the truth is, he wasn't just the one who defeated Laris, thanks to everyone's cooperation. Speaking of cooperation, when he's in the middle of clashing with Laris, someone lends him power. It was like the dark power of the shadow, but he didn't know where it came from. The two spirits suddenly pop out, revealing that it may be Shade. Shade is a dark spirit, a spirit of shadow, and a guardian of the Oni tribe. When the Oni tribe is in trouble, Shade lends them his power and help, but the Oni clan doesn't know exactly where he is. Shade is a special being, one of the most unique spirits among the spirits. Even if he is far away, if there is a bond, he can follow the darkness and share his power with anyone. The royal guards interrupted their conversation by reporting that the king wanted to see them. They arrived at the Imperium Castle, where the hero party and his master were already there. Elias was confused to see his master, so Leonardo explained that he also helped during the stampede by assisting the dragon Zhao in rescuing the people and stopping the monster that infiltrated the capital. Zhao already returned to the dragon kingdom of Ashute but was very grateful. Leonardo was very proud of his student for defeating Laris and gave him a powerful pat on the back. Scratch the joke aside, Leonardo was really proud of him for doing a great job. Now that they were all gathered, one of the royal guards let them in. The reason why the king called them here was to present the final assessment of the incident. Elias was worried for Michelle and Mateo because, while Mateo was the one who leaked information about the royal capital, Michelle was originally a demon despite not having harmed anyone. With that conclusion, he immediately tried to start a conversation with the king, but the king shut him up by stating that there was one thing he wanted to say to everyone. He bowed his head and thanked everyone for saving this country. Without their cooperation, this country would have fallen into the hands of the demons. As a king, he wants to thank them, especially Elias, because he has defeated a high-ranking demon. He wanted to reward him with anything he wished, but Elias didn't want any reward. Instead, ask for one thing. If Mateo and Michelle are going to be punished, he wants that punishment to be lifted because, without those two in battle, he wouldn't have been able to stop the stampede. He bows his head and politely begs the king. The king looks above, stating that the two were originally judged, but he will grant them a pardon under certain conditions. First, Michelle should accompany Elias and the others, assisting them. And for Mateo, he will contribute to this country while improving his skills. Knowing it wasn't really a punishment but a kind offer, Michelle asked if it was really okay. The king heard of the Oni tribe's strength and kindness, so he wanted Michelle to use that power for the sake of her companions. In Mateo's case, he believes he will become someone capable of standing against the demon king one day, and he is looking forward to great things from him from now on. After the conversation with the king, Mateo asks Elias for a moment. Mateo apologizes for everything he did wrong to him and thinks he doesn't deserve forgiveness. But if he was given another chance, he wanted Elias to join his party again. Elias declines because he now has new companions. Still, he considered Mateo and the others as irreplaceable companions. So, if Mateo is in trouble, he will help him, and if they are in trouble, Mateo will help them. The next time they met, Mateo promised he would become strong enough to surpass him. Elias returns to his companion, and as they walk, Leonardo asks his student about his plan. Elias was thinking about the last word Laris said before he died, so Michelle informed him that Lord Demon Vald was mainly responsible for the destruction of the Oni tribe, and he also captured her sister. Elias decided that their next plan was to defeat Vald and rescue Jimena. Since Titania might have information about Vald, they need to head first to the Elven Kingdom. Elias noticed his master's stunned face, so he asked what was wrong. Leonardo scratched the lice in his head and told him it was nothing. He turned back, saying he had forgotten something, and told them to take care. As he walked, Leonardo clenched his fist, admitting that his student had really become stronger. He guessed Faith had already decided that Elias was the one who would pursue Vald, and stated that he needed to put an end to this fate, to this old debt. Meanwhile, the three encountered a chimera on their way and managed to cut some of its head, but despite that, it was still alive. Michelle activated her dark petals, and when the chimera fell asleep, they cut all of its head. Elias couldn't believe that there was a chimera among the remnants of the stampede, but was glad it didn't go on a rampage in the royal capital. They are almost near the teleportation point to the Elven Kingdom, so they start walking but notice someone. The old lady was glad they had finally arrived because she had been waiting for them all. Emma wondered if he knew the old hag, but Elias didn't. The old hag knew them all and knew where they were going. She asked them to follow her, but seeing they hesitate, she inquired if he had a contract with a spirit. Elias wondered why she knew about that, but the old hag instructed them to follow her because she had something important to tell him. They ended up sitting in her house while the lady served them tea. Elias was about to introduce himself, but your ex-girlfriend, who suddenly became old after your breakup, already knew his name and his two companions. This old hag is Ree, a puppet. I mean a prophet. According to the legends, there's supposed to be only one prophet in the whole world, a special existence. They have the mysterious power to see everything from the near to the distant future. Ree clarified she can't fully control it as they think and proceed to the main topic. She knew Elias had been going around to break the seals on spirits all over the land, and revealed that the demons had already captured some of the remaining high-ranking spirits. The captured spirits were still alive, so it meant they needed to fight demons to save them. However, Ree drops the big bomb, stating that in the near future, someone precious to Elias will die. She didn't know exactly who it was because her vision was like a heavy fog, but she saw Elias's grieving face. This news shocked the three, but Elias didn't want to just accept it, so he asked if there was a way to change that future. It was impossible because Ree's prophecies have never been wrong. Once the destiny is decided, it cannot be altered. Fate may be set, but since her vision was foggy, it will be up to Elias how to interpret that. That fog means it hasn't been decided yet, so giving up now was too soon. He declared he would change the future and promised not to let anyone die. The two joined him, and seeing their bond, the old hag smiled. After that, they thanked the old lady and went to the teleportation circle. When they arrived at the Elven Kingdom, they were immediately greeted by the king and queen. They wait for them there, because Emma sends a magic message that they are returning. Emma introduced Michelle, but Michelle couldn't form a word to respond. The queen smiled at her, saying that if she is Emma's friend, it means she is a good person, so she is welcome. Knowing they went through a lot in the Imperium, the king prepared something special to reward them. Well, it was a banquet where the chef was standing at the side of both large tables where food was served, and the musician was playing their instruments while some were dancing. On the other hand, the ugly moron MC was focused on eating everything he liked. When he was full, he went to the balcony to get some fresh air. Emma also went there to do the same, and when she saw Elias staring at her, she asked if there was something wrong with her dress. It was just seeing her like this that made him realize that she was really a princess, and it really suited her. The air suddenly became awkward as they blushed, but she still thanked him. Titania observes they really enjoy the party and congratulates Elias for doing a great job. Elias told her the reason they came back and about the prophecy. Titania understands everything and realizes it was really his fate to fight against the demons. She then revealed to the two about the demon Vald and everything. Before he tells him the reason why she entrusted saving the world to him, she first tells about herself. 200 years ago, she was part of the hero's party, and she fought against the Demon King. She wasn't surprised to see their shocked reaction because only a handful of people in the Elven Kingdom knew about this. Back then, the three of them traveled together, and it was a lot of fun. The party members were her, the hero Zepar, and the spirit magician Yuris, her lover. There were times they struggled, but their journey went smoothly. They were strong, and they worked well together, but after they entered the demon territory, things started to go awry. While the two were dealing with the other monster, Titania was hit and was surrounded. Yuris aided her using his spirit magic and checked if she was alright. He healed her wounds and asked if she wasn't tired because the monsters had gotten stronger since they entered the demon realm. Titania assured him she was fine and told him not to worry. Zepar came closer and advised Titania to listen to her lover, adding that if they joined forces, they could defeat the Demon King. As she looked at her companions, she realized she was the one holding them back. Even though she was chosen for the hero's party as the greatest magician in Elven history, she can't go on like this. She has to become stronger. She will push herself further and will be fine without relying on the two of them. When they faced the final battle against the Demon King, Titania was on the ground, crying as she held her lover's wounded body while the hero Zepar was lying dead. Yuris fell while shielding her when she reached her limit. On the other hand, Zepar was killed by the Demon King without his protective magic. She thinks it was all her fault, but Yuris tells her in a weak voice that protecting what he loved the most was enough for him. She apologized for being weak, but Yuris makes it clear she wasn't weak. It was just that the Demon King was simply too strong, and they weren't strong enough to defeat him. He asks her a favor. While he was sealing the demon with the last of his strength, Titania must escape. Titania insists on staying, but Yuris explains that even if they seal the Demon King, it will inevitably return one day. When that happens, she must find a human who can surpass Yuris as a spirit magician. One day, that person will definitely appear before her. Someone loved by spirits and was able to fully wield their power. She must guide that person so their mistakes won't be repeated. Titania finally calms and promises to guide the chosen one. Yuris hugs her, apologizing for placing such a burden on her. Even though they can't live together, he has always loved her. After she responds with mutual feelings, Yuris puts her inside the bubble to escape. He then asks Undine and Dryas to lend him their power for a little longer. With that, he managed to combine the power of all spirits and succeeded in sealing the Demon King, but with the cost of his own life. However, before the seal took effect, the Demon King sealed the spirits away. This is the reason why Titania sought Elias out and entrusted him with the mission to save the world. The demons fear the spirit power that can seal the Demon King, and they were after that. On Elias's path to saving the spirits, enemies far stronger than Laris awaited him, and beyond them was the Demon King. Elias momentarily pauses before answering. He wants to protect his comrades and save the ones they hold dear. He promises to defeat the Demon King, and won't let Yuri's and the others' wishes go in vain. Titania thanked him, and told Emma she had one thing to tell her. Her pride got in the way, and she couldn't rely on her comrades, which led them to their downfall. She told her that relying on her comrades is not a weakness, and she must not make the same mistake she had made. When she answers that she won't, Titania turns around, glad that she was able to share this with her. She then asks Yuri's to watch over the journey ahead of these children. Meanwhile, Leonardo arrived at the Akina and was certain that there was some information about Vald. Chapters end at 16. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you love this manga. Have a good day.